Hey, my name is Evan Cather. I'm the Director of Instruction here at the...
What's up, guys? My name is Nik Bando, and I'm struggling with my golf game.
Hey, my name is Evan Cather. I'm the Director of Instruction here at the Turn Golf Manhattan. We're happy to have Nick in. We're going to be working on his golf game over the winter. So we're running him through the combine specifically because it's going to give us data as to where we think he needs to work on his game the most. So he's hitting 60 shots at 10 different yardages, 3 shots apiece in 2 rounds. So in total 60 shots. It's going to give us a lot of different data, feedback. We can also check the club data as well. So it's really just a good way to start off, an instructional plan. We don't have to jump in right away to, trying to make changes. We really want to figure out, what's going wrong and be able to address what we actually need to change and where we need to improve to lower his scores.
What's up, guys? My name is Nik Bando, and I'm struggling with my golf game. So I'm excited to be here at the Turn with Evan. I think the idea for this was, could we do a video series showing progression over a couple months, combination of lessons and practice, both on TrackMan, but also just making sure that over the winter months in New York City, I can actually practice. Not that I play that much. I probably play about like 30 rounds a year, and which is not nearly enough. I want to make that 100 rounds a year if I was breaking 75 regularly. So, yeah, I'm excited to get. So, living in New York, I'm playing less and less and not practicing as much as I should. So, where's my game at right now? I would say I'm making a ton of mistakes in the fairway, I think, but we'll see what the TrackMan numbers actually tell us. Low 80s and then blowing up to high 80s when I get triggered, which happens pretty often. Working on a little bit more consistency. I'd love to get the game back down to high 70s and low 70s would be amazing. See, we've got some new sticks in here. We do. I can't hit a 60 degree. Let's avoid shanks. Let's avoid shanks. Let's avoid shanks.
When we were young and we were free, and all your friends were friends with me, swimming in our clothes when the
Let's avoid shanks.
beach was closed midnight on New Year's Eve. And if you're having trouble, baby, holding on to memories, I got a king-size bed and a PhD in the way it used to be. I got a king-size bed and a PhD in the way it used to be. And when you
I felt like 9-iron was my only good club, if we're being super honest. I felt good with a 9-iron and a pitching wedge. And everything else felt uncomfortable. I got a lot going on up here, all right? And I know it's not helping us.
And when you write your movie or autobiography and can't reach the sweetest details, feel free to call on me. Write how I made you shiver, the ground underneath us shook, and the devil is in the details. He and I get on real good like we used to do. And you were right, I'm just a stubborn fool who's living in.
All right, Nick, first run here through, not too bad. So we have you at a handicap 14. I would say that's pretty much true. So you ended up with an estimated handicap of 20. Okay, so a little bit higher. Obviously, we got to try to bring that down. A couple things I noticed as far as, just running through the combine, just some focus stuff, right? I mean, you're having 60 shots, so I would say one of the reasons that hitting a little bit higher is you weren't used to that, and maybe just it's almost a little bit overwhelming. So that's something that, if we want to bring that handicap down into single digits, I'd like to get that focus a little bit tighter. With better players, we're going to see care in each of those 60 shots. Just thought too much left out there in that way. Thought the club selection was interesting. If we look at the numbers here on the top, there's nothing that really sticks out as like a sore thumb or like a great strength per se. Obviously, we can see the 70 yards is very weak. I wouldn't say that was any too much different than your 60 or your 80.
Yeah.
Just probably those 6 shots. But obviously, we need to improve if our average score up there in that area is only about a 40.
Totally.
Okay. And one thing I noticed there, and I'd say definitely a common theme throughout, would have been the club selection there. Just using a gap wedge for all those different clubs. As I've had a lot of better players on the combine, I've noticed most of them will switch clubs, right? Very rarely do I see someone run through with that same gap wedge. Because in here we're not really trying to flight the ball, right? If you have a gap wedge and you're hitting a pitch shot, usually you're trying to hit it a little bit lower, try to flight it, right? Most players are usually moving between, a sand wedge, pitching wedge as you get longer. So I'd like you to have a little bit more variability there, just so you can access some pins. I'd say the biggest thing I saw was the contact, right? A lot of shots off the toe, and that's honestly what probably brought these scores down by at least 20 or so. Not so much hitting it offline as much as just hitting it 20 yards short. Right, because your max yardage, you've hit your max yardage, but when you're hitting shots, specifically a lot of shots off the toe, right, those distances are off. I would say that's the most important thing we need to work on, is just being able to flush the ball. The number one fundamental of good players is to be able to hit the center of the face. It's really tough to play in single digits with, a lot of dispersion across the club face. So that's something I definitely want to tidy down. Pretty good, 100 yards. And I would say that's because you knew your club selection, right? You knew it's probably just a 3/4 gap wedge, hit well with good speed. And that's the mental, emotional standpoint I want you to have with all your clubs.
Yeah.
When we were in that target zone, you looked a lot more confident. Even to 120, you were like, hey, this is the club I need to hit, and I know it, right? And you're very focused in that area, and I'd like you to be able to have that mindset throughout all of these different areas, okay? Obviously, driver, it's a very tough scoring, right? You have to be able to hit the ball 250 yards to score 100.
As pathetic as it sounds, too, I also felt kind of tired at the end of, the second driving. It was just horrible. I could
exactly.
feel myself, not, I don't know, what do I do? Fatigue, probably. But,
and I picked up on that. So whatever you need to do, I know you're training for a marathon, that's great. So, keep playing basketball. Hopefully we can carry those things throughout the winter.
Totally.
It's definitely tough to play a lot of golf, but we can practice here, work on that. And you can work on your conditioning throughout the winter so that, once spring comes along, I think not only be able to bring these scores down, but be able to be 100% focused and just physically alert throughout the entire test. I think that's what we need, because you're out on the golf course, you're not mentally alert for 2 shots, and you're out of bounds ball. You're spiraling from there.
100%. That's
so
exactly what happens.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff. I think the swing is decent. Got to work on some contact stuff, but hey, I think we've got a good blueprint going forward.
Awesome. I'm super excited.
Nick, great work today. Looking forward to same time next week. Just glad we could get some numbers down and have a plan going forward.
I'm excited, man. First lesson next week.
All right, let's do it.